Yeah, it's one of those things that's really hard to pin down. But if I had to say what makes the book so popular over such a long period of time, I really feel like the book does tap into many of the very important core themes and elements of what connects us all, what makes us human. And I think the strongest theme is that of love and relationships and having to deal with loss. And I think the largest theme of what it means to be a child and what it means to be a grown-up. And I think no matter what society you're in, no matter where you come from, no matter how old you are, those themes are present in your life in different ways. And I think the book is quite amazing in that so many different people can see something different in it, and they can bring something away from their experience of the book different. But yet we're all united in the fact that we have this emotional experience with the book. And I think that's the power of it, is the emotional experience. So when I set out to make the movie, I said, I want to make a movie that is connected to that emotional experience. That to me was what the movie should be about how the book changes us and moves us and affects us. And that's what I was trying to do with the movie. Yeah. And that's why, when someone said, well, why are you calling it The Little Prince? And I said, because it's the heart of, it's what changes the little girl, it's the thing that creates change in the world. And I think if the book didn't exist and you just saw this movie, you would never question the title, but you question the title because it's not just the book. But I'm glad you say that, because I really feel like it's been a really tremendous challenge to figure out how to create this film in a way that would work, whether you know the book or not, whether you have read the book recently or a long time ago. And there were a lot of different ways that we had to think about it. And my hope was that it would work as a movie no matter what. Like, it would work and stand on its own. But it's definitely a very tricky riddle to solve. How do you make a movie out of this material? And I figured the safest way was to make a tribute to the material and not try to be accurate. Because you can't be accurate to a poem. You can't be accurate to an abstract idea, and there's so many beautiful, abstract, emotional ideas at play in the book, Right. Well, some people will say we're betraying it the way we did it, and you're never going to please everybody. But I felt like if we just, it was the first question I asked. I said, do I have to stick to the exact book, or can I build around it? And they said, no, you don't have to stick to the book, because I didn't want to hurt the book in any way. And I felt like even though we're not giving you every single piece of the book, the pieces of the book that we're giving you are completely accurate, and everything else in the movie is taken in some way from the book, whether it's thematically or, everything is born out of the book, yeah. Well, what it did was, the idea of using two different techniques was one of the first ideas that I came across, because I really wanted to find a way I didn't think CG animation was going to work to tell the whole story, and I found that stop motion would be a beautiful way to protect the book even further and suggest a different universe. And really that was just, it became a great way to help tell the story that I wanted to tell. It was certainly complicated and not easy, but I really felt like it was the best way to approach this tribute. It actually freed me up to have two different tones. So I wanted the stop motion, and I wanted the parts of the book to be very true to the book. So tonally, if we had made the whole movie of that tone, I think it wouldn't work. It would, so we had to have different tones, and those different tones were a result of the different realities. So reality has one fast-paced, tone, and then the book feels like a relief. It feels like a vacation, you know. And so it really freed us up to be creative about how we were going to approach the different aspects of the story. So in a way, yeah, it really gave us different writing assignments, you know.
About being.
This is a giant independent film, and kind of the amazing thing I was a French director under contract as a French director, even though I'm not French. So working with French producers actually gave me quite an amazing opportunity that I wouldn't necessarily have, where I had final cut, and things like that. As an author, as a, droit moral, I was given sort of rights that I would never have in the U.S. So in that way, it was quite extraordinary. But the producers were incredibly supportive of what I believed would be the best movie, and they really wanted to support the process of trying to find the best version of the movie. So in some ways, it was unique because you would typically only have this kind of support in an environment where you're making like a short film or you're doing something more experimental. So the fact that I could be making a movie this big and this important and have that kind of support was kind of crazy, yeah. Well, the book itself is like a magnet, and it draws, incredible talent. So it got my foot in the door with many, many meetings, to talk to many, many great talented like Jeff Bridges and, Hans Zimmer. But to everyone's credit, the meetings, I got my foot in the door, but the meetings usually started like, you're making a movie out of this book? And I would pitch and tell the story of what we were doing and how we were doing it, and I had a lot of things to help kind of explain, and by the end of the meeting, it's like, wow, we're doing this, So it was, you're hard-pressed to find an artist anywhere that isn't affected by this book. So to ask people to come and help me protect the book, like that was, I've had hundreds of artists that have worked tirelessly to help protect the book. So it's kind of an army of people that have joined the mission to protect it. The complicated nature of how this project had to happen did result in me pitching I had this beautiful like magic suitcase that we built that explained the passion of the project, and yeah, I took that. We went all over the world, traveled everywhere, and I pitched to artists, I pitched to actors, I pitched to financiers. Like everybody had to, in my opinion, everyone had to hear the pitch to really understand what we were doing. Otherwise, you would just say, "Oh, you're making a movie out of the book. It shouldn't be done," But the pitch was important in order to engage people in understanding the passion for which the project was already being developed with, and how it was going to continue. It set the bar,
Yeah.
It came from a lot of places. One in particular was just purely logistics. Like I knew that if I were going to build this wraparound tale, the book itself has only one female character, the Rose. And that was really troubling to me. And I had actually participated in a study that helped me focus on the role of women in film and the inequity, even in animated films, how few roles there are for women and how few roles there are for little girls to look up to. And so that really inspired me. I have a daughter, and I just thought about her, and I thought about creating a character that could guide us through the movie and through the experience of the book. But also, the little girl was a balancing character to the Little Prince, and to me, it just made perfect sense. And the other influence was Miyazaki. Miyazaki always uses heroines, and I just figured it was the right way to help bring balance to the story. Okay, so that happened. I was pitching to the director of the estate, Olivier Daguet, many, many times, and I had his trust. But I didn't pitch to the family until about 2 years ago. So we were very deep in the project, about 2 years into the project, and I went and pitched to the family. And I have to say, I was very nervous. You know, I was. It was really important for me for us to have the seal of approval. So I pitched everything to them. I pitched the whole story, showed everything, and they applauded at the end. And the El Presidente stood up and said, "You have our full support." And it was like this amazing moment. And I like tears, and I was choked up. I couldn't talk because, you know, I'd already been engaged for so long, and I knew that it was really important to have that support. And the fact that they understood what I was doing and appreciated it meant a great deal to me and to the crew. When I communicated that back to the crew, people were really happy and excited, yeah. You know what? That would be incredible. I would love that, but you know, they already have a big enough family. But they're such wonderful people, and yeah, to be embraced. I mean, after the Cannes premiere, I was invited with my family to come have dinner with them, and it was like incredible. They applauded me and toasted me, and it was like I couldn't have been more thrilled and happy. Yeah. You know, it's really interesting because the book is very well known. It's not known by everyone, but the people who know it are crazy about it. Like, it means so much to the people that know it. I think probably there are a lot of people in the U.S. who take French class, whether it's in high school or later. Like, there are a lot of people that their dream is to come to Paris. Their dream is to speak French. Their dream is to, like, they really have a fondness. So anybody who studies French studies the book. It's a part of the curriculum. So there's a lot of people that they find the book that way, but a lot of people I know who love the book, they give the book at every occasion. They give it to everybody. They want everyone to have it. They want to share it. So it's sort of this kind of viral thing that has happened. And I find now that that was what was exciting to me, because I know that the people who love it, but there's a lot of people who don't know it. And I really hope that the movie becomes sort of an introduction to the book for those that don't know it. And there's a lot of people who sort of know of it, but have never read it. And that's what's really nice, is that they sort of know it's this great, you know, French book, and they want to know more, you know. Wow, one scene. I can't. You know, ask me the question in 6 months. I might have enough objectivity. I mean, I'll give you two scenes. I'll break it into two. Only because I have two techniques, so I have to pay tribute to both. There is one scene between the little girl and the aviator. I mean, many scenes are wonderful, but there's the scene where the little girl first learns about the idea of having to say goodbye to the aviator, and he puts the toy plane on the hook, and the acting in that, and the boarding of that, and the staging of that scene, it breaks my heart every time, and I just think it's such a lovely thing, and that the subtlety of the expressions that the CG animators created is really quite amazing. And then the other scene, which I think just turned out incredible, is the first time we go into the story, we transition into stop motion. We go into the desert, and it goes from flat paper into dimensional characters. And I mean, I feel like that we have completely realized not only the book, but our ambitions for what that scene can be. And I feel like with Alex's designs and Jamie's direction of the stop motion, we really have created something truly special that feels completely connected to the book. And the fact that when Little Prince opens his mouth, my son's voice comes out, that breaks my heart every time. It just makes me so happy to hear his voice. And I'm so happy that people are responding positively to his voice. So there's a lot of scenes and things to love. For me, you know, there's a lot of things I hate too. All I see are the mistakes at this point, but I try not to talk about those. Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah.
So,